Hi, everyone. Welcome to Shareable Moments. I'm your host, Jonathan Yang. I'm super excited to be bringing to you another guest. My guest today is Seng Vang. He is currently a lecturer at two colleges, one at the University of California, Merced, where he teaches courses in ethnic studies, and also at the California State University, Stanislaus, where he teaches courses in writing. And so excited for you to be here, Seng. Thanks for joining us and sharing your valuable moments.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate all the work that you're doing with shareable moments.
Oh, well, thank you.
Really,
Yeah,
really interesting to hear about
yeah.
how what Hmong American professionals are doing.
Oh, yeah, I think it's awesome. And I know, Seng, you've got a rich history of your own academically and professionally. And so I'm really excited for our session today because I really want to kind of get some of your thoughts on some things and just to delve into your background. And I know that our guests are going to learn a lot from your moments. So thank you again for coming.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right, so Seng, I want to ask you, I introduced you as a lecturer, and could you just describe a little bit about, I think some people have an idea, but what does it look like to be a lecturer in general? What are some of the things you have to do? I know you have to teach, but what are some of the things that people don't see you doing outside the classroom as a lecturer?
Well, I mean, as a lecturer, a lot of us are. It could be said like another word for adjunct. So
Mm-hmm.
you work almost full time, but you're not full time,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then so we don't have the same security as like professors who are
Mm,
working towards tenure.
right.
And so, but I mean, in terms of we focus a lot more on teaching, and then a lot of us work with students hands-on in terms of writing or in classes. So we do a lot of that that's behind the scenes, and so we do instruction inside the classroom and outside the classroom.
And could you share for our listeners, Saying your academic background and maybe some of your professional background leading up to where you are? So, where did you go to college at? Where'd you do your graduate studies and all that good stuff?
Yeah, I think like I never really envisioned myself to be doing this today, like as like a professor or faculty.
Mm-hmm.
Like I started out going to college kind of by accident.
Mm.
I shared before that like I as the oldest of like 13 kids,
Yeah.
it was as a first generation college student, it was quite hard, and just a lack of role models, a lack of mentors. Like you knew you were going to go to college, but no one really um, instructed you or like guide you, right? And so I think for me, like I think I kind of went to college by accident,
Mm-hmm.
and I really struggled my first couple of years in school, and I think that slowly I was able to transition.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is that um, I I was able to find a support network of friends, having professors that understood a lot of the things I was going through, right? And so I think that for me, it wasn't until my third year of college where I finally had like several professors that were helping me, were mentoring me, right? And so I was able to transition. I was able to go from like a C average student
Mm-hmm.
to a solid A student.
Mm.
And I think back, like what if I had this support in high school, right? What if I was able to had motivation or had people that believe in you? And I felt that I never really had that in high school,
Mm-hmm.
and it wasn't until my third year. And so I mean, sometimes I feel like I'm kind of behind,
Mm.
right? That I started too late, but then I know that it's never too late to start. And so um, once I was able to improve academically my third year, that really helped me focus on going to grad school. And so because I never even thought about that either, I didn't even know what grad school was, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so after I finished, I went to Cal State Stanislaus. So after I finished that, I was I was able to apply and go into a PhD program right after I finished
Mm-hmm.
at UC San Diego. And so that's where I did my graduate training. And so I went to the ethnic studies program there. And so I finished my master's, and I still on break or
Mm-hmm.
transition from finishing, if I will ever finish. But but right now I'm focused more on teaching,
Mm-hmm.
and so I'm working at two campuses, like you mentioned earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Where at UC Merced, I'm more of a mainstream,
Mm-hmm.
lecturer where I teach freshman writing classes, and then at Stanislaus where um, I teach in ethnic studies,
Mm.
and the courses that I teach are Asian American studies classes. So
Okay.
we have a Hmong American Experience class
Very cool.
that we were able to teach not just Hmong students but other students to learn about Hmong culture
Right.
and issues in the Hmong American community, or questions about how research is done in the
Yeah.
Hmong community.
Good.
Hmm.
And so just so I make sure I get this right, so you went to you got your undergraduate. You did your undergraduate degree from California State University, Stanislaus, correct?
Yes.
And did
Mhm.
you study ethnic studies as your major there?
Well, I started as a I really started as an art major.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
like a lot of Hmong students or Hmong artists, like you realize that it's a struggling profession, and
Uh-huh.
even though you feel like you have a lot of talent, like you don't have like support, right? And
Right.
it's really hard to transfer that into into something that you get paid for.
Right.
Where I think a lot of struggling Hmong artists can identify with that. So I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that was what I grew up being really good at, was like art. I really liked that, and I went to school for that. But
Mm-hmm.
I found out that I didn't know or how to use that, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
I ended up changing to anthropology,
Oh,
because
okay. Okay.
yeah, because it wasn't like these classes like anthropology or ethnic studies. Like it was these classes that allowed me to really understand myself,
Uh-huh.
to learn about who Hmong people are,
Right.
and to learn about my own identity and history and culture. And so, like being exposed to culturally relevant curriculum,
Mm-hmm.
it really helped me improve academically as well, in addition to the support that I had. And
So,
so,
mm-hmm.
mhm.
Oh, I was going to say, so you came in as an art major, then you switched to anthropology. Was there a special moment during your undergraduate time that caused that switch? Did you take a class, or I mean, during your time, did they have like a Hmong American Experience class or anything like that?
When I started school, like there wasn't many classes like that, and but what happened during my senior year, we actually was the first time in 2001 was the first time that we were able to have a Hmong American Experience course. So I was one of the very first students to take the class, and back then, like the majority of the students were Hmong. But today, like the class, like there's very few Hmong students that take the class. It's
Mm,
the majority of students are not Hmong, so
yeah.
it's a really good thing
Yeah,
because
that's encouraging. Yeah, it's good. That's good. Yeah.
yeah. And so I mean, like this class like is focused on culture and history and
Mm-hmm.
issues. So like language is not required.
Mm-hmm.
And Stanislaus was a unique campus because for a very long time they were able to have like Hmong language classes too.
Mm-hmm.
But eventually those classes they weren't able to be sustained because there wasn't enough students taking language classes, and
Mm,
so
mm.
those classes were phased out, and also because of the budget issue back
I
in
see.
back in 2007 2008. There's a lot of budget issues with the university, so
Mm-hmm.
they did away with those language classes, but the Hmong American Experience class has survived and is actually thriving,
Mm-hmm.
because like it appeals to not just Hmong students, that other students, any discipline.
Mm-hmm.
It trains students to be culturally competent
Yeah.
to if you go into health field
Mm-hmm.
or teacher or
Right.
social work, then you're exposed to learning these issues and
Yeah.
history
Yeah.
of these Hmong families that you're going to work with.
Yeah, that's interesting you bring that up because I have a friend who he's not Hmong, but he went to the UC Davis Medical School and became a doctor, physician, or now he's a pediatrician. And he was telling me that part of the curriculum there is you have to read "The Spirit Catches You and You Fall"
Yes.
as part of culturally becoming aware of the Hmong community here in Sacramento. And so he was telling me about that, and so I think that's
Yeah,
really
I mean
interesting.
that book is widely
Yeah.
it's widely used in a lot of medical programs
Mm-hmm.
because those are the issues that even though the book was written more than 20 years ago,
Yeah.
a lot of those issues are still relevant today. So not just like Hmong community, but many
Mm-hmm.
refugee immigrant communities,
Mm-hmm.
and how they have they have mistrust and access to healthcare,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so
Yeah.
so many future doctors or health professionals are taught or with that book, right?
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
like that's similar to the class that we have. It's just that it's more broadly than just health. So we look at education, research, and other issues that students are interested in
Yeah.
learning about.
Very cool. So after you graduated with the degree in anthropology from CSU Stanislaus, you went over to UC San Diego for a PhD program. But before we go into that, I want to ask a little bit. Would you be willing to share with us and our listeners a little bit about the application process and specifically what your application looked like, saying? Because I think people are always kind of interested in wondering, does my, application process, does my application look good? How does it fit with other people? And so as someone who actually got into the program, would you be willing to share maybe what the admission committee saw in your application? So if you'd like, you don't have to, but if you want to share your GPA or maybe some of your test scores or maybe just whether it's high or low or what your mission statement was about or if you have any research or anything like that our young Hmong students can kind of see as a reference point.
I think because today is really competitive, so
Yeah.
I think that if you're doing like social science, a PhD in any of the social science, then having some sort of research background will really help you stand out. I didn't really have that when I was at Stanislaus. I think that in terms of my application, I was through having the guidance from my advisors, right? I really had strong letters that they highlighted my potential to do well in graduate school, and my statement that you have to write to tell them what your goals were and what you want to do. I feel like my statement was pretty strong because I wrote that I wanted to develop like curriculum. I wanted to teach like Hmong American Studies or Hmong culture classes like that. And so I think what I wanted to do aligned into the program that I was accepted into. And it turns out that like there was someone at the program that was my advisor. I would work with, right? And so that would be my suggestion for like a lot of students that plan to go to grad school is to understand and know like who is at that program that you may work with, right? Because I've seen several cases where like they apply to a really good program, but there's no one for them to work with, right? And so I think that that really helps the whole process of grad school. If you have an advisor that supports you and that. It'd be great if your work overlaps some way, right? Where, but then working or trying to do research on Hmong American community, it can be hard to find someone like that. And so, the next best thing would be like to find someone that is like in either Asian American study or someone that is doing research on Southeast Asians. And so I was able to have that support, having a mentor like that in grad school, and that really helped the adjustment because I found out that grad school was quite hard.
Yeah.
I didn't really have like like I mentioned earlier, I went from like a C, like a 2.5 GPA. Yeah. And then my final 2 years, I went up to like a 3.8.
Very nice. Wow.
Yeah, and so I think that like I said, I think it's partly they looked at the potential that I was able to do, right? That I developed as a student, and so. Some grad schools would look at that. Others look more at like your test score, the GRE, the GMAT, things like that. And it depends, like what program you're planning to go into. So other programs like medical school or different discipline will be different. They'll look at things differently because they may have more application and things like that.